Hello, Lake Wales, and welcome to episode number 14 of The Mayor and the Manager. This is a weekly podcast produced by Providence Voice, which is the media ministry of High Point Church, and we created this podcast so that you as a citizen could stay informed of the events in our town and that you could get to know the people that you elect and pay to serve you a little bit better. And after a short time away, we're joined again with our city manager, Mr. James Slayton. James, welcome back.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning.
Here. And this morning, we're also joined by a special guest who recently finished was it your third term as a city commissioner?
I think it was three.
Three terms?
It changed. Sometimes it was one number of years and the other time was another.
Okay. Well, just recently ended his terms of service, our deputy mayor and the chair of the CRA, and kind of a small town legend here in Lake Wales, Mr. Robin Gibson. And Mr. Gibson, none of us, oh, by the way, welcome. We're glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you.
None of us were happy, I think, that your tenure in the commission had ended, but the benefit for us all is that we can actually have this conversation together. And I think there are very few people who have been as deeply involved and committed to the progress of the city as you have. So I wonder if you could take a few minutes to begin this episode and just tell us your story, but mostly your Lake Wales story. How did you wind up in a little town in the middle of Polk County, Florida? And tell us a little bit of your history here.
I was born in Port of Spain, Trinidad.
Oh, okay.
My dad was.
So now, wait a minute. Are you naturalized, or you got your green card?
When I was 21 years old, I had to make a choice. Did I want to be a citizen of? It was an English possession then of England, Great Britain, or the U.S. I chose U.S.
Okay.
I was insulted that neither country asked. I had to do it in order to get a passport.
Okay. Not till you were 21.
Yeah, right.
Okay. All right, go ahead. I interrupted you.
And that was because my dad was a pilot for Pan American. He flew seaplanes. He was a pioneer aviator. He was one of the Navy's first carrier pilots. And eventually that brought us to Miami. Grew up in Miami and went from there to the University of Florida for college and then law school. And so from there, I went back to married, and I've been married for 64 years and went back to we went back to Miami and had a wonderful opportunity with a magnificent law firm trying cases down there with this law firm. But then our kids started coming along. And I was one of four. She was one of three. And and Miami was changing. And my family really comes from Palatka. I knew what small town life was like, and we wanted to raise our kids in a small town.
Okay.
So started looking for a small town. Had a zone. I was done with palm trees and sand and salt water and hills, lakes, and oak trees.
Okay.
And Lake Wales is right in the middle of that at the highest point, as a matter of fact. But one of the initial things was a great law firm.
Okay.
Which I was a surprise. I thought I'd be giving up a quality law practice in Miami to come and sit in front of the drugstore and spit and chew with the boys. And that wasn't it at all.
Okay.
Neil Myers was the first editor of the Florida Law Review. And Roy Craig was a Harvard Law graduate. These guys did sophisticated law work. They needed a guy like me that had tried some cases, and so it was a very good match.
Okay.
And wonderful for our family.
Yeah. Nice to have that kind of opportunity in a town like Lake Wales.
Oh, yeah. That was just, and I had looked in a bunch of other towns too, but this suited us, and it was a very good choice. And from that, we have 4 wonderful kids that grew up in a good place to grow up.
And you said that was 1966
that was when we moved up here,
okay.
May 15, 1966.
So in you're telling that story, you brought to mind something that I've thought about Lake Wales. Jenny and I moved here we moved here in 89 to go to school, and then back in 97 to pastor the church. And I tell people you find so much unexpected in the city of Lake Wales, or in the town of Lake Wales. You have an idea, like you said, I'm going to have to go sit and spit and chew with the boys in front of the drugstore. But then you find out it's not like that at all. So many hidden gems around here, really.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So has that been your experience too, James, that it's kind of an underrated little town, isn't it?
It really is. And, kind of along those same lines, when I first started here back in 2003, I had folks tell me to, be careful. Don't let the people of Lake Wales get in your system. And so you need to spend about a year over there, get your experience, and then move on.
Yeah.
And 23 years later, here I am.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, when we left, we came here because our denomination's Bible school's just down the road, it was Warner Southern College. And when we left, I remember saying to my wife, well, say goodbye to Lake Wales, you'll never see this place again. And here we are well over 30 years later. But I often tell people that you will walk into these little cafes or diners around here, and you'll be sitting within earshot of some of the most fascinating people that live around here, and you just don't know it. So many good things about the city of Lake Wales. Okay, so Mr. Gibson, you have done an awful lot in the time you've been here.
My friends call me Robin.
Okay, Robin. Thanks. You've done an awful lot. I mean, as this morning, as we were preparing to get together, I listed, since I've been here, the charter school system, you led the charge to get that going. Lake Wales Connected, you were a big part of bringing Dover Coal in and getting that up and running, which has been a big deal here for the last several years. You founded the CRA back in the mid-'80s here, and then revived it a few years ago. And then, so out of all of those things, what do you think has been the most challenging, and what's been the most gratifying for you?
Well, one segment that people in Lake Wales know very little about was a little bit of a exposure to state and federal. And in Miami, I was the president of the student body there were 2 major high schools. And I in one, and Bob Graham in the other. And so we got to know each other. We went to the University of Florida together and pledged the same fraternity and got to be real good friends. And then he married a girl I went to elementary school with.
Okay.
So, and our kids started coming along about the same time. So when he got elected governor, and I spent a lot of time trying to help him get there, and was so glad when he was elected, because I go back and 100% practice law. He says, I want you to be my general counsel. I didn't even know what a general counsel was.
Right.
Well, it's the governor's lawyer.
Okay.
And so I said, I'll give you 6 months. And I got to come back to Lake Wales and kids and everything. So the whole family, we went up to Tallahassee for that. Well, everybody wanted to try out the new governor, and we went through an awful lot. And I thought it was going to be difficult. It was not. I was really surprised. All you needed was a copy of the Florida Constitution and good judgment, and you were there. And fortunately, Graham was one of those people with good judgment. We saw eye to eye on a lot of things. And from then on, through his career, I was basically his lawyer.
Okay.
And and we had a good friend that we graduated from University of Florida with, a guy, Buddy Shorstein was his name, and the three of us went through a lot together. People in Lake Wales don't know about that segment of things, but it was a good exposure. I did a lot of stuff with the Florida Bar, and that exposed me to. I got to know some wonderful, wonderful people. And all that was outside of Lake Wales. So the things you've talked about were in Lake Wales. The charter schools came about. My interest in education was because Graham appointed me to the Board of Regents for the university system. Then they elected me as the chair of the Board of Regents. So I was doing that for our university system, and we turned out to be quite successful. We hit the upper quartile of universities while we were there. And then when I come to Lake Wales and I look at our schools, and they were really in the pits at that point, and they had been very good. And so, and our kids were in schools. So, get going. And this was a opportunity with looking at the charter law. We could do something that other people hadn't done. And that was basically form a community school system, which is what we have. So in a way, that outside stuff that people in Lake Wales don't know much about got imported and helped out a lot as far as I was concerned with that particular project. Other things just because I'm a community person. Yeah. And I like the people, and I want it to be as good as it can be, and I just spend my time doing that.
Okay. So in the time that James and I have served with you, you've been it's the CRA. Right. So talk to us about that. Talk to us about where did the passion for CRA come from? And then you've shared that it was really the CRA that prodded you to finally run for public office.
That's true. I tell you, I think it kind of starts with an interest in history.
Okay.
And one thing that I didn't realize until kind of down the road a ways was history comes in components. And what we are is one of the components of history. That's boomtime Florida.
Yeah, yeah.
I've thought history was when the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth Rock. But I've heard that when the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth Rock, St. Augustine was undergoing urban renewal.
That's right.
So
they were complaining about the new kids that were moving.
That's right. Yeah.
So and then realizing that this is a very valuable component of Florida history, and here we are. One of the best things that ever happened to Lake Wales was when that Highway 27 that I drove for years back and forth to the University of Florida from Miami and everything else was to be expanded. They went west. They didn't come through the town like they had on the East Coast and torn up the towns.
Yeah.
And so the place was relatively undisturbed.
Right.
And there it is. And there is a book, I was just looking at it recently. There is a book, and it's the historic structures in Florida. And they go county by county. They have 15 in Polk County.
Yeah.
7 are in little old Lake Wales.
Right.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
And so to be able to play a role in enhancing that historic nature of it. And then I love the term community redevelopment.
Mm-hmm.
Community, love a community. I'm a community person. Redevelopment, not development, redevelopment. When you redevelop, you are building on the shoulders of the historic people that preceded you and built that structure. You look at the Rhodesbuilt Arcade, my goodness, that thing is really remarkable.
Yeah.
And there are so many others. So I thoroughly enjoy it. I think it's important. And that's why I am a nut about community redevelopment.
Yeah. So, James, we did a whole episode on the CRA, and you've served in the city of Lake Wales for a couple decades now, haven't you? If I remember your story well, did you start out as the IT guy? Is that where you started?
I sure did.
Okay.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my understanding is that we had the CRA, which is an incredible, valuable tool in any community tool chest, and it just was being neglected. And so you saw Mr. Gibson came back on board, Robin came back on board, and how has that lit a fire under what happens in our city?
Let me make one comment. It wasn't neglected; it was abused.
Okay. Well, that's important.
Absolutely abused. The money was never used for redevelopment. It was used for city expenditures as opposed to redevelopment.
Okay.
So excuse the interruption.
So tell me how it's lit a fire at our city in the last several years.
The focus on the CRA?
The refocus and the renewal of the CRA commitment.
Well, while there have been a lot of changes, certainly over the last 6 years or so, I think that the most significant has been changes have been to the historic core.
Yeah.
I think that is the piece of our community that really sets us apart from the other cities and communities around us. And I believe that historic core and the work that we're doing there through the CRA is what's going to truly transform Lake Wales into a destination community, quite honestly. So it's changing the trajectory of the city, I think, forever.
It made it possible. I mean, from where I sit, and I've only been serving on the commission for about 5 years now, but as my understanding has grown, we couldn't have done any of this had the CRA not gotten back re-engaged in doing what it was supposed to do.
You're spot on with that. We would not have been able to have accomplished any of this without the CRA. And once we really got going in earnest through our redevelopment efforts, we've been able to grow that trust fund through the increased tax increment, which just gives us more money to redevelop more of the community. So it's working by my account, and I think Robin would agree with me here, it's working exactly as CRAs were designed in the first place.
Exactly.
Really, for the first time, I think, in the 23 years that I've been here. I don't know. What do you think about that, Robin? I don't know what happened back in the 80s. Well, obviously, because you started you all did the first streetscapes, 50 years ago. But so maybe there was a big gap in between that period of time and probably 2020.
I'm just going to tell you, when we came, again, we moved here in the late 80s to go to school, and it wasn't too long past when that initial streetscape had been done. But almost nothing happened in downtown Lake Wales between then and just a few years ago.
That's right.
Yeah.
So CRA, and so maybe the people in Lake Wales don't understand also the unique position we're in the city of Lake Wales with our CRA legally. We just kind of came into that in the last couple of years. Can you explain that, Robin, a little bit more because of when we founded our CRA?
Well, yes, it was in 1985. I got involved, and the law had recently been passed. I thought this was pretty darn good opportunity, and advocated to the then city commission that we do this, and they kind of said they were very skeptical, thought it was smoke and mirrors, and that you'd come up with this trust fund and all this sort of stuff, and didn't want to do anything crazy. And so, okay, the guy, and we had done the streetscape improvements without a penny of city money.
Okay.
That's another story. But so they did it. And then it started to grow, and then the city got in real financial trouble, mismanagement, and they reached over and got our money out of our trust fund, and I almost left town. Really, seriously.
Yeah.
So stepped away from it and did the stuff with the state and everything, and while a significant law practice also. And but then, like you alluded to know that the CRA statute is a brilliant strategy, and what it could do, and what it had not done, and how it had been abused, it drove me nuts. So I did, as you mentioned, one of the things I never thought I would do, and that's run for public office. I'd supported people in public, but never run for public office. I did it, got elected, and then eventually we made a change at the city, a tactful change with the city manager, got this guy, and things just, and the folks on the city commission, and this is a little bit before you came, but then you rode the wave with us.
Yeah.
And we really put that thing to work.
Yeah.
As it is designed to work. And it is an absolutely brilliant strategy. One quick note, this deserves another episode, but we were fortunate enough to have done it early enough to get in before the county got home rule.
Yeah. That's what
So then we were in charge of the CRA.
Yeah.
And the CRA brings in both city and county money. And the people at the county are not happy with that.
Right. Yeah.
They lose sight of the fact that everybody who lives in the city pays county taxes.
Yes, yeah.
So guess what? We're keeping some of that county money home.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no.
So yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's an interesting, and I don't know, we're pretty unique in that. I'm not sure that there's another municipality that's in that situation in Polk County.
Lakeland might be. Maybe.
Yeah, they're onto it.
Okay. So let's talk about one of the things that's happened in the last couple of years is we're working to expand our CRA, and pretty significantly. And so talk to our folks about what a difference it would make for the city of Lake Wales if we expanded the CRA.
Well, we are presently in litigation with the county over that expansion. And the critical issue is a little bit about what I mentioned earlier. We did it early enough to precede the county's adopting home rule. So, and our contention is we are grandfathered in.
Okay.
And we get to determine
what the boundaries are.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what's in litigation now. We feel pretty good about the outcome, what that outcome is going to be.
Yeah.
And that's very significant for us because long term, it will generate a great deal for the trust fund.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, we will be able to do the things that the statute is designed to do.
Okay.
And it'll be a significant opportunity.
We're still in litigation on that. We
Yes.
think it's going to go our way. We don't know. But if it did, and this is important because in our next episode, we're going to talk more about the Dixie Wales Built Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
But James, tell us, give us an idea of what financial impact it would have on the city if we were to get this expansion.
Okay, if you don't mind, before I do that, I want to put some of this in context for some of the folks that maybe didn't listen to the CRA episode or don't quite understand.
It was
what
one
is
of our
we're
first
talking
5
about.
episodes. Yeah.
Yeah. So and I'm gonna simplify it.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially, everyone that owns property within our city limits pays taxes.
Mm-hmm.
They pay taxes to both the county. They pay taxes to the city.
Mm-hmm.
About 2/3 of everyone's property taxes go to the county, and we get about a third of that.
Mm. I'm sorry, say that again. 2/3
goes to the county.
Okay.
And we get about a third roughly of the taxes goes to the city resident. So we use our third of those taxes to run all of our municipal operations, and then the rest goes to Polk County to spend however Polk County sees fit.
Mm-hmm.
So when you create a CRA special taxing district, we get to keep, we being the city of Lake Wales through our CRA, a portion of those taxes that would otherwise go to Polk County.
Mm-hmm.
That's important because we get to direct where those dollars get spent. We get to decide and keep that money inside our city limits and make sure it gets spent on improvements and investments to the citizens of Lake Wales, rather than that money just being spent. It goes to the county. It could be spent over in Lakeland. It could be spent. I mean,
let me mention
anywhere.
one thing.
Go ahead, by all means.
It has to be, in order to have that advantage and keep that county tax revenue here, it has to be spent on community redevelopment.
Yeah, it has to be.
Absolutely.
It cannot be general.
Sure.
Good point. That's a really good point.
Mm-hmm.
And so I bring that up because this is why we're in litigation right now with Polk County. They don't want to lose some of that revenue.
Sure.
And to Robin's point, that every citizen inside our city limits is also a county resident. They pay county. They pay county taxes, and so that's really the basis.
Sure.
For this lawsuit.
So
another thing too, excuse me.
That's all right.
Another thing too is, which is I think to the credit of our city commission and our city manager, we have seen eye to eye. We've been pretty aggressive.
Yep.
We've mentioned one lawsuit we have, and I have a lot of confidence in the court system. I've been in it for my whole career, and on another episode we'll be talking about the Wales Built Hotel, which is we've obtained through litigation. Now, a lot of communities are timid about going to court. If we felt that it was the right thing to do, our city commission has not hesitated.
Yeah,
all our votes have been unanimous.
You're right, and I think that part of that is, people hear the word litigation and they automatically think it has to be mean and nasty, and like for instance, in the interactions we've had with the county, and I've not been deeply involved in those, but in the parts that I've been a part, it's not been contentious. I mean, we all understand why everyone needs these monies and wants these monies. Correct. And it's only common sense that you would want to try and keep as much local control as you can. So I think everyone understands that. And I feel really good about our position right now. So let me come back, though, to if we do, if the courts rule in our favor and they say we're in the right and we're able to expand the CRA to the degree, because it's a pretty large expansion, and we know what's coming, what financial impact is it going to have on the city?
Well, for clarity, we have expanded, and we're beginning to collect some revenue now. And I think if the county's successful, I don't think they will be, then our expansion will then get retracted. But we've already expanded, and the large development, the Via Terra, it's called, is within that new CRA area. It's hard to quantify without them having built structures yet, but they're well on their way now. And it could be, it's such a large development. It could be, in terms of revenue, tens of millions of dollars. I mean, tens of millions.
And again, those are all possibilities. We're feeling really good about it.
We are.
But I think that that's important, because in our next episode, again, we're going to talk more about the Dixie Wales build, and we're talking significant investment from the city on that. And everybody gets a little nervous with those numbers, but it's helpful for them to understand some things that they are not privy to, and this might be helpful.
Sure.
So
understood.
I feel like, and we'll get into this next episode, I feel like we're okay where we are, but we're in real good shape if this all comes down the pipe.
I want to
completely agree.
I want to commend the courage of our city commission, city manager, mayor. So many people are just timid or reluctant to step out and assert ourselves like we have done. And I've tried a lot of lawsuits, and my personal standard for going to trial or not is if we have an 80% chance. And a lot of people, unless it's 100%, they
won't do it.
Scared to death of it and not going to do it. But we have taken the position that if we feel that it's a position that we're entitled to, we're not going to be timid. We'll make that move. And I think if we had not done these things. Golly.
Had we not been, I'll say this, so that all the listeners can connect the dots. Had we not finally run the CRA and really initiated and engaged in true redevelopment to increase the tax increment revenue, we would not be in a position today to even be discussing restoration of the Wells Belt Hotel.
We're going to do an episode on the Wales Belt. So let me finish up this episode, because we're getting close to our time limit here. So one more question I want for both of you, because you both have been serving the city for quite some time. So Mr. Gibson and then James, Robin and James, what has been the most significant positive changes that you have seen in the city, and what do you think are the biggest current challenges for the city? I want both of you to talk about that.
Okay. The significant changes, to me, perfectly obvious. The reality of the physical changes that you see on Park Avenue in the marketplace is only the beginning of what we're doing. But there it is. It's proof positive. And about 40% of what we've done is underground.
Yeah, right.
Because of the sophisticated way that we've handled drainage and utilities and all that kind of thing. So step one, what are the positive changes? Obvious, perfectly obvious. And a quick word about horticulture. My goodness. Yeah. Kevin Polk, everybody, if he decides to leave town, he can't do it.
and we're going to let the air out of his tires.
That's right. So And the significant challenges in the future are twofold, in my view. One is to keep this going economically.
Okay.
But the other is, very important, is to retain the small town quality.
Okay.
And that, and this is, needs really another session, but the way to handle the economics so that you keep a small town quality is critical. The things that we are doing, the hotel, for instance, that's people coming and going, coming with disposable income, leaving that income in this town and going home, getting out of here. So that those, and that is what James has alluded to, us being a destination. That should be our priority, to be a destination. We are not aspiring to be any Orlando or Tampa or Lakeland, for that matter.
Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, now you, James. What do you think has been the most positive change recently, and what do you think is the biggest challenge in front of us?
Well, in general, let me just say, incrementally, even, from where I sit as a city manager, I kind of scan the environment, and I would hope you all agree with me, being primarily a service, provider here at the city. I think we've been increasing our level of service across the board. Everything that we do has just gotten better. And that's from public safety to parks and recreation. I mean, at the end of the day, everything we do improves the quality of life for the people that live inside our city limits. And I think that has become pretty obvious to me. But the work we're doing in our CRA, I would say, is I'm extremely proud of that. It's been extremely positive. The community's behind it, and it's making a real difference. And that's everything from the physical realm improvements in the downtown to, think about, what we've done and what we're doing with the legacy housing. I mean, we're over 70 homes we've rehabbed at this point for low income seniors. And so we're really making a difference in people's lives. So, I would say just across the board, I think we're doing pretty well, but the CRA, I think, has been really the most positive in the work that we're doing there.
Did you say biggest challenge in front of us?
I did not say that, but I would say, in general, just growth management.
Yeah.
Just growth management, and exacerbating that is the state legislature and what they're constantly doing to preempt, local government decisions as it relates to growth management and land development regulations. That makes it extremely difficult for us, at the city, but for our residents as well.
Okay. Thanks. Now, that we always solicit questions, and sometimes we get them. So you're the city manager. I'm going to put one in front of you before we end this episode.
Can't wait.
We've got a question from a listener who is concerned about the gaps in sidewalks along Buckmore Road. They say that they see sidewalk develop put out in front of the new developments, but then there's big gaps in that. Are there any plans to get one continuous sidewalk down that road?
I think there's always ultimately a plan, but I'm going to have to speak on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners. So Buckmore Road, though it's inside the city limits, is a county asset. So that's owned and maintained by the Polk County Board of County Commissioners. And the reason there have been some new sidewalks is because of the development. It's occurred on that road. So as the county reviews those development plans, they'll require those developers to build sidewalks. But in terms of, our involvement, we're not responsible for those sidewalks. However, I would be very happy and glad to relay these concerns along to the folks within the Polk County government that actually maintain that road and right of ways.
Our county representative is Mr. Wilson.
It's Rick Wilson. Yes, sir.
So in case he doesn't listen to the mayor and the manager, we'll reach out to him and let him know about this citizen's concern.
Absolutely.
All right. Very good. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate you being a part. Folks, this is episode number 14, and we always want to remind you that we are open to receiving your questions. Right there in the description that's underneath this podcast is the link to the email where you can send your questions, and we hope you all have a great day. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Mayor and the Manager. The goal of this podcast is to keep you up to date on all that is happening in the great city of Lake Wales. To that end, we would love to take questions from you and take the time to answer them. So if you have any questions, just click on Submit a Question in the description above this podcast.